Hi, George here. In this video, I'll be showing you how to remove the background around a foreground subject, in this case, these two dogs. And once that's done, we can then replace that with a different background, like I have right there. It's a fairly straightforward project, but there are a few tricks you need to know to do a good job with this one. Now, if you're looking for complete training for Photoshop Elements, not just one trick or two like we have here, I have you covered, and that's with my complete training course for Photoshop Elements. It's an online video course, separate from YouTube, and covers the whole program. If you want to find out more about that, there's a link for that at the top of the description. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this project. Here's our original image, and here's our new background right there. Just keep that aside for the moment. The first step is to select out your subject, your foreground subject. Do it any way you want. We don't want the shadows. We'll be putting in shadows later. Since I'm in a later version of Photoshop Elements, I can go up here to use Select and Subject. This will work out just fine for us. If you don't have this, again, use any technique that you have to select out your foreground subject. Let me just change the tool here. There we go. And you'll end up with something like this. Now, I want to come in and refine the edges. Whenever I'm doing hair or fur, anything like that, I always refine the edges. So let's bring up Refine Edge right here. And I have this set at the overlay. I like this one because I can easily see the difference between the foreground and background. So it's a cinch to find where the edges are. Now, sometimes I'll come in here and play around with edge detection. I'm not going to bother with that on this one. I'll leave everything else at the default settings in here. And then we're using this tool right here. This is the Refine Radius tool. If you want to zoom in on this, use the zoom control right up here, the magnifying glass. Let's just zoom in. That's pretty good. Go back over here to this tool. Now, the size of this is down here, bottom left-hand corner. Down in the options, it says 35 right now. It's a good size for this. And I'm just going to brush right over the edge of the dog's fur. If you want to move this, just hit the hand control right there and move it, and then go back to your brush tool and just go ahead and clear around. Now, the reason I like coming in here on the fur is all this little fur in here, very hard to catch that with a regular selection. And this can do a great job with that. And simply go around the whole figure and do it in little strokes like I'm doing here. I don't do real big movements on this. I like just smaller movements. I think it works out better this way. And right down and around here. Now, we do have a spot right up in here that's still grass colored. I can take care of that one or two ways. I either come in and work on the layer mask and try to clean it out with a layer mask, or what I'll be doing this time is I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm replacing this with a new green background, and we'll see how it looks. If there's any issues with that, I can then come back in and adjust it afterwards. But it might just come in and look just fine. Now back here, this is really out of focus, really kind of soft focus in here. So it's not going to get a great, real furry look. It'll help up in here a little bit, but hard to get that. But I just want to get it as good as I can with this tool. And then around this side. Now, whenever you're changing the background, it's always best if you can go to a similar background, because there will be some haloing in here. It's almost impossible to get rid of that. So the background is similar. That's going to blend right in. Ours is, I'm going from a grass background to another grass background. So you should be okay with that. But the values are different. The saturation is different. There will be some obvious differences in there. So I'll have to do some adjustment for that, but it's fairly easy on the adjustments. And I'll show you how that's done as we get over to that point. Okay, let's just get this around here and just finish off this one dog here. And we'll then go down and take care of that pup. Very small animals, that'll go really quickly here. I don't care about the twig because it has hard edges, and the hard edges look just fine, so we're okay on the twig. It's just the fur I was concerned with. Okay, let's quickly go around and get the pup right down here. I'll start on this side over here. We'll go up around the top. Again, just little segments at a time. I'm not trying to do the whole thing in one shot. And I found this works better when you're working with the Refine Edge tool. Just let it work on one spot at a time, one little bit at a time. There we go. And back to the hand tool. And we'll finish up around the base down here. We have kind of the same problem right down here where some grass is showing. I might be able to get this just by coming in this way. It's not isolated. It looks okay. And I'm going to be repositioning the dogs a little bit on the picture anyway. I think they're a bit too high in the picture originally, so we can cut off a bit of the bottom down here, and I think it will look better. Okay, back up to our starting point like that. That's good. Now I want to output this down here. It says output to selection. Let's put this to a new layer with a layer mask, and then choose OK. I'll use Control 0 to fit screen. And there we go. there is the background removed. It's actually that easy. Just make your selection, use Refine Edge, and then output to New Layer with Layer Mask, and your background's taken out. But that's only half the problem. Whenever we take a background out, we want to replace that background with something else. So let's go over here. I have this picture. I'm just going to drag it down like that. If you don't have floating windows, this is really useful. Go up to Edit, come down to Preferences right here and General. And it's right here, Allow Floating Documents in Advanced Mode. If you're using an earlier version of Photoshop Elements, this may say Expert Mode. Make sure that's checked. Choose OK. You can then float your documents. The reason I like this is it makes it real easy just to grab that background layer, drag it over here and drop it on. And there we go. Now the resolutions were different, so the size is different. In this case, this is okay. Take your layer and drag it under the dog layer like that. And I'll position that down here, bottom left-hand corner. Grab the control handle, and that's stretched up to fit like that. There we go. Now my dogs seem like they're too high based upon the look of the background, their perspective. Looks like they're floating in the air. So I'll take that dog layer. This is drag them down a bit, and I think that's better. Now I have this tree right back here. It almost mimics the side of the dog here. I think that's possibly a better look to get it in behind a bit so we don't have that matching line going in there, which becomes kind of distracting. So I'll put the dog right there, and that's looking pretty good. Now looking at the image, it's a little bit light along this edge right down in here because the background we came from was lighter than this shadow area. Look okay up in here. There's a little bit of kind of a green look up in here, just a touch. It's a little light around this puppy, but not too bad. I think the puppy's okay. Let's go ahead and take care of these things in here, the tail, and right up in the ears up here. Let's just zoom in on the tail first. And a couple of things that we can do in here, actually 3 things we can do in here. Double click on the layer mask side, look for the light blue outline there. That means you're on the layer mask side. So over here, grab this tool. This is the burn tool. Now you might see this looking like that. That's the dodge tool. Come down to the options, go to the burn tool right here. I have mine set for highlights and a pretty small brush. And I have the exposure. Let's put the exposure all the way to the top up here, 100% on this. Looks pretty good. And then on the layer mask, just come in like this and paint right onto the layer mask. And we're going to make the layer mask higher contrast, and that gets rid of some of that highlighting going on there. A bit of that, you see it right here, a bit of that halo happening on there. This just sharpens up the layer mask and solves that haloing problem usually pretty well. Now, most of the greenish color is also in that halo, so it solves 2 things at once. We'll come back to the tail in just a second. But let's hold the space bar down. Let's check the ears up here. It's a little bit right along here. Get some green showing there. Get rid of that. So I'm just increasing the contrast on the layer mask, and that tightens the layer mask up on these particular areas. And frequently, that's all you have to do. Okay, and I think that's actually looking pretty good. Now there's a little more that we can do up here. It's a little green right down here. And 2 things you can try. These are both on the dog side, so double click on the image side over here. Let's bring our exposure way down, like 8%. Then just come in right along that edge, just a little bit. I'm just darkening down that edge just a touch. And that actually solves that. If I had a little bit of green showing in here still, one trick that I've used in the past that works out well is to go over here to the sponge tool, set this on desaturate, and let's bring our flow down about halfway. And then just come along and touch right in that area that converts the color into black and white tones. And normally you won't even see that, but it gets rid of any color along that edge. And in this case, the color would have been green, so it gets rid of the green. Okay, that looks great. Let's scroll back down here again. And I think we're okay in here. Just darken that down just a little bit like that. So desaturate just a little bit on the edges in here. And last thing, there's still a little bit of lightness right here, a little bit of the halo happening, just some lighter background. So for that, let's switch back over here to the burn tool. Exposure is staying pretty low, about 10% is good. And then just come in and darken down that edge right in there at the burn tool. And that will get rid of the last of that haloing effect. I have the exposure way down so I can do several strokes here and it doesn't come in too fast or too hard. So I have control over that. Okay, that looks good. I could come in and do the same thing on the little dog over here. I think all I really need to do here is just to increase the contrast on this. So let's go back over here. We're on the right tool. That's the burn tool. Let's go over here, double click on the layer mask side. Same thing, just come in and do a little bit of that right along the edge Wherever you see that kind of a haloing effect, that's just going to tighten up that layer mask and get rid of that halo. And that was really good. So that's fine. Okay, let's go to Control 0, fit screen. It's all looking really good. It's on a green background, so any green like the green right in here that we saw before, that blends right in. That's perfect. Now, talking about this choice of picture here, we had some grass in here on the dog's feet. So when I was choosing a new background, I made sure that I had a background that had grass in it that was about the same kind of grass so that the grass on the feet here would blend in with the rest of the new picture. So make sure that you look for those little details. If I put this on a different kind of grass, like a clover or something, then the leaves here of the grass wouldn't match the actual grass, and then you would see that. It's best if you match the original as close as you can. You'll find a better picture, more interesting picture, but keep things around the dog, around your subject, as close as you can to make this as easy as possible. Let's look at our original picture again. It's on the background up here. I'm going to right-click on this, duplicate layer. I'll put this at the top so it's easy to go back and forth. And we have these dark shadows in here just off to the right of the two dogs. We need to replicate that. Easy enough. Come down here on the background layer. This is our new background. Make a new layer above that. We have our foreground color of black. That's good. Let's grab our paintbrush. I have my size, pretty good size. You can see right there, pretty large size. Real low opacity. And let's just come in and paint in a little bit of a shadow right in there and a little bit of a shadow right over here. You don't need much. It doesn't have to match the original exactly. As long as it's in the right place, you're okay. It's looking great. And to remind you, if you want to have complete training for Photoshop Elements, I do have you covered for that with a complete video course for Photoshop Elements, and I'll put a link for that at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you next time.